The blood, red moon hung low over the dense forest, casting long shadows that danced with the wind. Her breath came in ragged gasps, each step through the underbrush a desperate bid for survival. In her arms, her newborn daughter stirred, tiny fingers curling instinctively around her mother's finger. The child was perfect, her only treasure in a world that had turned hostile overnight. Her heart pounded, a frantic rhythm that mirrored the echoing howls in the distance. They were close, too close, the Alpha, the father of this child, the man whose anger could annihilate a pack with a single thought, had no idea she existed. She had vowed with every fiber of her being, that this child would never fall under his shadow, never be claimed, never be used as a pawn in the politics of wolves. A rustle in the leaves made her freeze. Her daughter whimpered softly, her tiny face pressed to her mother's chest. The woman's gaze swept the tree line, sharp and searching, until a lone wolf silhouette emerged against the pale light of the moon. A howl split the night, a mournful, chilling sound that carried both warning and longing. The mother whispered a vow under her breath, her lips barely moving. "I will protect you. No one will take you from me." Her own pulse quickened. Somewhere, in the distance, she could feel the Alpha's presence, a dark, unyielding force that would not rest. Yet tonight, she had a chance. Tonight they would run, and perhaps, just perhaps, fate would bend to her desperate will. The forest seemed alive with secrets. Shadows slithered among the trees, whispering dangers the mother could not yet name. But her daughter's warmth against her chest was a reminder that even in the darkest night, a spark of hope endured. And somewhere beyond the trees the howl came again, closer this time, a warning, a promise, a beginning. The chase had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. Years had passed since that moonlit flight, yet the forest still held its secrets. The Alpha moved through his pack's territory with the quiet intensity of a predator, senses honed to every rustle, every scent, every heartbeat. He was a man shaped by loss and rejection, haunted by memories he rarely allowed himself to confront. Yet tonight there was someone, that made his instincts hum with uneasy recognition. A girl. She moved with grace, unaware of the watchful eyes tracking her from the tree line. Her hair a dark cascade that caught the moonlight, and eyes that were all too familiar, sent a shiver down his spine. He didn't understand why, but the pull was undeniable, magnetic. She's someone. He murmured under his breath, voice low and rough. The pack had trained him to sense threats, allies, even potential mates, yet this feeling was different. Subtle, secretive, almost forbidden. Across the clearing, the girl paused, bending to adjust the straps of her backpack. A laugh, a soft musical sound, escaped her lips. It wasn't loud, but it reached him like a whisper meant only for him. He clenched his fists. He shouldn't care. He didn't know her, couldn't know her, but something in him, a shadowed, buried corner of his heart, stirred. And then he saw it, a fleeting movement, almost invisible, at her side. A small shape darted between the trees. A child. His child, no, that was impossible. His wolf growled low in his chest, demanding attention, warning him of a bond he hadn't yet acknowledged. And yet he held back, restraining himself, watching from the shadows. The girl, this enigma, was unaware of his gaze, unaware that fate had already begun weaving threads around them both. She turned, looking toward the woods as if sensing something she could not name. Her eyes scanned the darkness, and for the briefest of moments their gazes met. The Alpha's breath caught, familiarity, memory. Something primal whispered that he had been here before, that he had lost something he could never reclaim. Until now, and then as suddenly as she had appeared, she was gone, slipping into the night like a phantom. Yet the Alpha could not let go. He would find her, he had to, the ache in his chest. The question he could not yet voice, burned with an intensity that would not be denied. The forest was silent again, but he knew it. She was close, and so was the truth he had never dared to imagine. The hunt had begun, not for prey, but for a secret that would change everything. Her chest still burned from memories she never wished to revisit. The Alpha's presence lingered in her mind like a shadow she could not shake, a phantom from a life she had buried. Every morning she woke, she reminded herself of the rules: keep her daughter hidden, never reveal the truth, survive. That was all that mattered, but surviving was becoming harder. The town was small, the woods surrounding it familiar. Every glance, every stranger's whisper made her heart race with fear, and lately, something felt different. Her instincts, sharpened by years of running, told her that someone was watching. She tightened the strap of her daughter's backpack, glancing down at the little girl skipping beside her. The child hummed a tune, innocent, blissfully unaware of the danger that shadowed them. Her own heart ached with love and fear. Every smile, every laugh was a reminder of what was at stake. If the Alpha discovered them, if he ever knew, there would be no escape. Memories of the night she fled flashed in her mind. The moon hung blood. Red, the forest alive with danger. Her newborn daughter clutched against her chest. She had run for love, for safety, for a life free of his wrath. And yet, even now, years later, she could not escape the pull of the past. The scent of the Alpha lingered like a ghost, the memory of his anger and his strength etched into her very bones. She shook her head, trying to clear the thoughts. Not now, she whispered, her voice trembling. We have to stay safe. We have to keep going. Her daughter looked up at her, eyes wide with curiosity. Mom, do you think Daddy will ever find us? The question made her heart lurch. She knelt, holding the child's small face in her hands. No, sweetheart, he doesn't know about us, and he never will. But even as she said the words, doubt gnawed at her. She could feel the pull of something inevitable, a storm building just beyond the horizon. And somewhere, deep in the woods, the Alpha's senses were reaching, tracing threads of their existence he didn't yet understand. That night, as she lay in the dim light of their small cabin, the shadows pressed closer. Every rustle outside, every whisper of wind against the trees felt like a warning. She pressed her daughter to her chest, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. They were safe, for now, but she knew with a sinking certainty that the past had a way of catching up. And when it did, nothing would be the same. The tension is building, and the daughter's presence is beginning to pull the Alpha closer to the secret without his knowledge. The morning air was crisp, the kind that carried the scent of pine and earth into every corner of the small town. Her daughter ran ahead on the path, laughing as she chased a squirrel that had darted across the trail. The girl's laughter was light, innocent, but it carried something else, something the Alpha would have recognized in an instant. Unseen, he watched from the edge of the forest, his senses taut. That fleeting sound, that subtle vibration in the air, it called to him in a way he couldn't explain. His wolf stirred, alert, sensing a bond he hadn't yet admitted existed. He had tracked disturbances before, threats to his pack, intruders who dared to trespass, but this was different. The girl paused to look back, as if she felt eyes on her. Her small chest rose and fell rapidly, and her brown hair caught the sunlight, glinting like copper. He felt a pang, a deep, inexplicable pull, and his jaw tightened. The resemblance was uncanny, not to him. He couldn't claim that, but something in her movement, her instincts, her unspoken awareness of danger. It stirred memories long buried. She's extraordinary, he murmured, low and rough, barely audible even to himself, and familiar. Meanwhile, she sensed something too. The hairs on her arms rose, a chill tracing her spine. She tightened her daughter's hand in hers, scanning the trees for any sign of the unknown. Her pulse raced, not entirely from fear. Someone was there, watching, waiting. The girl's laughter faltered as a sudden instinct gripped her, a subtle shift in the air she didn't fully understand. Her small wolf, the slumbering power within her, tensed, and just for a moment her eyes glimmered with a sharpness that made the Alpha freeze. It was a whisper, a call from the wild, a signal that resonated deep within him. He leaned closer, curiosity and instinct warring within him. "Who are you?" he whispered into the wind, his voice rough like gravel. Not expecting an answer, yet hoping for one, the girl's mother stiffened. She had felt the presence all morning, but hadn't been able to place it. Her stomach twisted with fear and anticipation. Danger was near, she could feel it, and yet part of her heart ached with something she didn't want to acknowledge. The Alpha's eyes narrowed. Threads of truth teased the edge of his awareness. The child, the small, fierce, luminous girl, was somehow connected to him. He couldn't yet name it, couldn't yet accept the implications, but the pull was undeniable. A sudden rustle behind the trees made him vanish into the shadows, silent as a predator. The girl clutched her mother's hand tighter, whispering, "Mom, I feel someone." She nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I know, baby, I know." And somewhere in the woods, the alpha's wolf growled softly. A quiet acknowledgement of a bond he didn't yet understand but could not ignore. The chase had become inevitable. The tension is escalating, and now the alpha is directly sensing his daughter's presence without realizing the full truth. She thought she was safe. She had chosen the school carefully, a place just outside the alpha's territory, far enough that his attention wouldn't linger here. Her daughter skipped ahead, backpack bouncing, humming a carefree tune that made her heart ache with both love and fear. But fate has a way of slipping through the cracks. It was the market that changed everything. The sunlight glinted off the metal sign of the small grocery store as she guided her daughter inside. She had gone over the routine countless times, quick in and out, no unnecessary interactions, eyes forward, voice low. But the universe, it seemed, had other plans. A familiar figure moved among the aisles, tall, broad, shouldered and impossibly commanding, the alpha. Her breath caught and her pulse doubled instantly. What was he doing here? How had he found himself in her carefully constructed world? He paused, sensing something he could not yet name. The daughter's scent reached him before he saw her, a subtle trace hidden beneath layers of schoolyard perfume. But his instincts were sharp, relentless. He scanned the aisles and froze when his eyes landed on the girl, laughing and unaware of the danger she carried simply by existing. A hand tightened around her daughter's wrist. She forced herself to keep her expression calm, heart-hammering. "Stay close, sweetheart," she whispered, though her voice betrayed the tension. The alpha's eyes, dark and intense, flicked to the mother for the briefest moment. Recognition flashed across his features, a shadow of memory he couldn't yet place. But before he could move, she wove her way through the crowd, her movements practiced, fluid, protective. A rival pack member, sensing opportunity, blocked her path with a sly smile. "Well, well, isn't this interesting?" he said, voice dripping with malice. "Looks like someone's hiding secrets right under the alpha's nose." Her stomach dropped. She could feel the tension in the air tighten like a noose. Her mind raced for a way out, any way to keep her daughter safe and unseen. And yet, in that moment, the alpha's gaze locked onto hers, a storm of curiosity, suspicion, and something far more primal simmering beneath the surface. The daughter tugged at her hand, sensing the tension but unaware of the stakes. "Mom, who is he? Just someone we don't need to worry about," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes, but inside, panic churned. The walls she had built to protect them were cracking. A sudden crash of a dropped basket echoed through the store. The alpha's wolf growled low in his chest, and instinct screamed for him to act. She felt it too, the almost electric pull of danger and desire mingling, impossible to separate. And then he was gone, slipping into the sunlight outside before she could fully comprehend the brush with fate. Her knees trembled as she pressed her daughter close. They had been seen, sensed, maybe even marked. The chase was no longer a shadow at the edges of their lives. It was here, and hiding in plain sight was no longer enough. The stakes are rising. The alpha has now directly sensed and nearly discovered them, and danger from rival packs is entering the story. The full moon rose high above the pack house, silver light spilling across the dense forest that surrounded it. The alpha stood at the balcony, broad shoulders tense, eyes scanning the edge of his territory. Tonight he had called a ritual, a test of strength and loyalty for his pack, but his mind wandered unbidden to the girl he had glimpsed in the market. Her scent lingered in the wind, subtle yet unmistakable. Inside the pack house, the atmosphere was electric. Wolves shifted restlessly, instincts coiling like springs ready to snap. The alpha's presence commanded attention, but the tension was thickened by whispers of outsiders, rivals lurking at the edges of their domain, and the unspoken question, who among them carried secrets? She watched from a distance, heart hammering as she observed the ritual unfold. Her daughter sat quietly beside her, pretending to focus on the ceremony while her small hands fidgeted with the hem of her skirt. She could feel the Alpha's presence even here, far across the clearing, a gravitational pull that made her stomach twist. "Mom," the daughter whispered, "why do they all look so tense?" She tightened her grip, scanning the shadows. "It's complicated, sweetheart. Just stay close, okay?" The Alpha's eyes swept over the gathering, sharp and calculating, and then they landed on the girl. For a heartbeat, he froze. Something primal stirred, a recognition he couldn't yet name, a connection that drew him forward despite his better judgment. A rival pack member smirked from the sidelines, a predator in human form. "Looks like someone's hiding more than a few secrets." He whispered to another, eyes flicking toward the girl. This could be interesting. The heroine's pulse leapt. She had feared exposure, but now she realized that the Alpha's ritual would draw her daughter into the spotlight, whether she wanted it or not. She pressed her hand over her daughter's shoulder, shielding her subtly, even as her heart raced. The Alpha stepped forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the pack. "Tonight is about loyalty," he declared, "and anyone hiding weakness will be tested." His gaze lingered on the girl for the briefest moment, sharp and unrelenting. He didn't yet know the truth, but instinct had already marked her. A challenge began, wolves testing their strength, muscles coiled, senses alert. The heroine's daughter instinctively mirrored some of the moves, a small, unconscious display of her inner power. The Alpha noticed. His wolf growled low, an ache of recognition that demanded attention. The rival pack member saw it too, eyes glinting with malice, opportunity, exploitation. He would use this to his advantage, to provoke the Alpha, to disrupt the bond that fate seemed to weave invisibly between the child and her father. Her chest tightened. She had kept her daughter hidden for so long, but tonight the thin veil of secrecy was fraying. Every instinct screamed at her to act, to protect, to run, but she couldn't leave without drawing suspicion. And somewhere in the shadows, the Alpha's eyes never left the girl. He did not yet know that she was his, did not yet understand the truth that could shatter the pack's balance. But the pull of destiny was undeniable. The forest held its breath. The night had shifted. The game was no longer one of hiding. It was one of survival, protection, and the first sparks of a bond that neither of them could yet name. The stakes are now higher. The daughter is in the spotlight during a pack ritual. Rival members are plotting, and the Alpha is being drawn closer without realizing the truth. The forest had quieted after the ritual, leaving a hushed, almost sacred tension lingering in the air. She moved through the shadows, keeping her daughter close, heart pounding with every step. Every instinct screamed at her that danger wasn't just near. It was watching, circling, waiting for a slip. Then he appeared. The Alpha. His presence was impossible to ignore, a magnetic force that made her chest tighten and her pulse stutter. He didn't speak at first, only watched, and she felt the weight of his gaze like fire against her skin. There was curiosity there, yes, but also something far deeper, something she wasn't ready to confront. "Why are you out here alone?" he asked finally, voice low, almost a growl. It was the kind of question that wasn't about the words, but the way it made her pulse race and her stomach coil. She swallowed, forcing calm. "I'm just taking her for some fresh air. She needed it." Her daughter clung to her side, shy, sensing the tension but unaware of the full stakes. The Alpha's eyes flicked to the girl. Something primal stirred in him, a pull he could neither name nor resist. "She's strong," he murmured almost to himself, "stronger than most." He paused, scanning her face, as if trying to read some hidden truth she wasn't ready to give. She stiffened, heart hammering. He didn't know. He had no idea this child was his, but the tension between them, magnetic, undeniable, was building, electric, like two halves of a storm drawn inexorably together. "Be careful," she said finally, voice firmer than she felt. "People aren't always who they seem out here." A flicker of understanding, or was it warning, crossed his face. His jaw clenched, and his wolf growled low in his chest, reacting to the hidden truth that lingered like a scent in the wind. He stepped closer, dangerously close, and she felt the heat radiating from him. the raw power that had haunted her for years. For a moment, neither moved, words unspoken, breaths mingling in the night air. Forbidden, dangerous, yet utterly magnetic. Every glance was a confession, every pause a question neither dared voice. Then, with a subtle, deliberate motion, he turned his gaze to the forest beyond, leaving her with the unspoken promise that he would find answers. The moment hung between them like a thread of silver moonlight, fragile, fleeting, yet impossible to ignore. Her daughter tugged at her hand, breaking the spell. "Mom, he looks scary." She forced a smile, hiding the storm within. "He's just someone we have to be careful around, sweetheart." But inside, her heart knew the truth. He was more than someone. He was the alpha, the storm, and the pull of destiny that neither time nor distance could erase. The night stretched on, silent, except for the whispers of wind and the unspoken bond growing between them, an invisible thread tightening with every heartbeat. And somewhere, deep in the woods, the alpha's wolf growled again, sensing a connection that could not be denied. The slow burn is escalating. Romantic tension and forbidden attraction are now at the forefront, while the alpha remains unaware of the child's true identity. The forest was restless, the wind carrying whispers that only the most attuned senses could catch. She had thought the worst was over, that by keeping her daughter close and hidden, the alpha's curiosity would be satisfied with fleeting glimpses. But some truths are stubborn, and secrets, no matter how carefully guarded, have a way of surfacing. A rival pack member had been watching, patient and cunning. He approached her quietly, words coated in malice. "You're hiding something, something precious," he said, his eyes flicking toward the girl playing at the edge of the clearing. "The alpha will notice eventually, and when he does, things won't end well for you." Her blood ran cold. She clenched her fists, heart hammering. "Stay away from us," she warned, voice low but sharp. "You don't know what you're dealing with," the rival smiled, dangerously calm. "Oh, I know exactly what I'm dealing with, and so does he. Trust me, your little secret isn't safe for long." Her mind raced. How had he discovered anything? She had been careful, meticulous, a phantom in their world. And yet now, threads were unraveling. She could feel it in her bones. The delicate web of protection she had built around her daughter was fraying. Meanwhile, the alpha was already piecing together the fragments. Senses stretched, instincts sharpened. He traced the faint trail of her presence from the market, to the ritual, to the clearing now. The scent of the girl lingered, unmistakable, carrying with it a familiar undercurrent that made his chest tighten. Something about her screamed of him, of lineage, of a bond he had long denied. He confronted her in the shadows, voice low and commanding. "You're hiding something, I can feel it. Don't think I won't find the truth." Her heart sank, the carefully maintained walls of secrecy were cracking and panic surged through her. I don't know what you mean," she said, though her voice trembled. The alpha's gaze was unrelenting, piercing through every layer of her defenses. The girl, sensing the tension, clutched her mother's hand. Her instincts flared, wolf energy coiling subtly beneath the surface, reacting to the emotional storm between the adults. A sharp rustle in the trees signaled the rival's presence again, and she realized the danger was immediate. The alpha's wolf growled low in his chest, sensing both threat and truth in the same heartbeat. "Tell me the truth," he demanded, eyes locking on hers. "Who is she?" Her stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed to protect, to run, to deny, but the threads of fate tugged insistently, forcing cracks into her resolve. She could see the alpha's struggle, the raw, untamed power battling with the stirring of emotions he had spent years denying. The rival stepped closer, smirking, ready to exploit the tension, but the alpha moved with lethal precision, positioning himself between them and the girl. His gaze returned to her, fierce, demanding, and she knew. He would not stop until he uncovered the truth. Her chest tightened. Every secret she had guarded was now at the precipice of exposure. Every lie threatened to collapse. And as she met his unrelenting stare, she realized the moment of revelation was coming, whether she was ready or not. The forest held its breath, waiting for the inevitable collision of truth, desire, and the unbreakable bonds of fate. The stakes have escalated. The alpha is closing in on the truth. Rival pack members are exploiting vulnerabilities, and the heroine's secrets are unraveling toward a dramatic revelation. The moon hung high and full, casting silver light across the packhouse courtyard. Tonight, the pack gathered for the moonlit ceremony, a tradition meant to honor loyalty and strength. But for her, the night was a storm of dread. Every shadow seemed to carry threat, every whisper a hint of exposure. Her daughter clutched her hand tightly, small fingers trembling with both excitement and unease. She whispered, "Mom, I feel him again." "Yes," she murmured, pressing a reassuring kiss to the girl's hair. "I know, sweetheart. Stay close." The alpha's gaze swept the crowd like a predator, sensing tension, secrets, and the faint trace of the child's hidden power, and then it happened. A rival pack member, cunning and malicious, deliberately let slip a whisper loud enough to carry across the moonlit clearing. She's hiding more than she admits, and so is the girl. Her blood ran cold. Heart hammering, she turned toward her daughter, knowing that even this small slip could be catastrophic. The alpha's eyes narrowed, dark and penetrating, sweeping over her with a force that made her knees threaten to buckle. "She's your daughter," he said, voice low, dangerous, as if tasting the truth before fully naming it. The words were a growl, a question, a command all at once. The crowd seemed to blur around her. Every instinct screamed for concealment, but the bond of fate had begun to assert itself, undeniable and raw. Tears pricked at her eyes as she clutched her daughter closer. "No, you don't understand. I understand more than you think." He interrupted, stepping closer, every muscle coiled, every sense sharpened. His wolf growled deep in his chest, protective, possessive, ready to claim what had always been his by blood and destiny. Whispers rippled through the pack. Eyes turned, suspicions hung thick in the cool night air. The heroine's carefully built walls crumbled beneath the weight of exposure, and for the first time in years, she felt utterly vulnerable. Her daughter, sensing the tension, shifted subtly, a glimmer of her inner wolf surfacing. The alpha froze, his eyes widening in shock and awe. Recognition, raw and undeniable, surged through him like a tide. This was no ordinary child. The rival pack member smirked, stepping back to watch the unfolding chaos, but the alpha's fury redirected sharply. He positioned himself between them and the girl, eyes blazing, ready to defend what was now undeniably his. The heroine swallowed hard, heart pounding, feeling the precarious balance of fear, hope, and desire. The truth was out. There was no hiding now, and as the moonlight bathed them all in silver, she realized that betrayal and revelation had arrived together, and nothing would ever be the same. The alpha's wolf growled low, warning, protective, primal. Fate had spoken, and under the moon, the pieces of their destiny were beginning to fall into place. The packhouse was alive with tension, every wolf alert, muscles coiled, senses sharp. The revelation of the child's identity had sent ripples through the territory. Whispers of shock, curiosity, and envy tangled in the cold night air. And at the center of it all stood the alpha, a storm of fury and protectiveness, eyes dark and unrelenting. He moved through the gathering like a force of nature, each step deliberate, every movement radiating power. Her chest tightened as she held her daughter close, feeling the pull of his energy even from a distance. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to run, to hide, yet she could not tear herself away. The alpha had arrived, not just as a man, but as a predator claiming what had always been his. "You've hidden her from me," he growled, voice low, vibrating with anger and disbelief. "Do you have any idea what you've done? I had to protect her," she whispered, voice trembling, eyes downcast. "I couldn't risk you, or the pack." His jaw clenched, wolf instincts coiling around his heart. Betrayal and love warred within him, each surge of emotion sharpening his features, hardening his stance. He was furious, yes, but beneath it, something else flickered, longing, recognition, and an undeniable bond that refused to be denied. Her daughter peeked up at him, eyes wide, innocent, unaware of the tension she had caused but sensing its weight. The alpha's gaze softened fractionally, though his wolf growled low, warning of potential threats lingering in the shadows. A rival pack member stepped forward, smug, trying to exploit the chaos. "Looks like the Alpha's little secret has surfaced." He sneered. "I'd be careful if I were you, brother." The Alpha's eyes snapped to him, fierce and sharp. "Back off," he commanded, a growl underlining his words. The tension in the air shifted, every pack member sensing the imminent danger of crossing the Alpha. She took a hesitant step forward, courage threading through fear. "Please," she pleaded, "we're not here to challenge anyone. We just want peace." The Alpha's gaze returned to her and the child. Anger still simmered, but protectiveness surged stronger. "Peace," he murmured, voice low, almost reverent. "You think hiding from me was peace. You think keeping her from me was safe." The daughter stirred in her mother's arms, small hands reaching instinctively toward the Alpha. That gesture, simple, innocent, broke something inside him. The wolf in his chest rumbled, acknowledging what his heart had known but his mind had resisted. She was his. This child, this bright, powerful little soul, was his by bond, by blood, and by fate. And in that realization, the storm of fury softened, replaced by a raw, consuming determination. He would protect them, he would claim what was his, and no rival, no pack member, no force of the world could change that. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the moonlight washing over the three of them as the first step toward acceptance, and the eventual union was taken. Yet danger still lingered, rival threats unresolved, the stakes higher than ever. The Alpha's wolf growled low, protective and unyielding. His fury was no longer aimless. It was directed, purposeful. And for the first time in years, his heart found a focus, his daughter, her mother, and the bond that could no longer be denied. The forest was quiet now, moonlight spilling like silver across the clearing where the Alpha, the heroine, and their daughter stood. The chaos of revelation had passed, leaving a charged silence that vibrated with unspoken words, raw emotion, and the fragile threads of a bond finally acknowledged. The Alpha's eyes softened as he looked at his daughter. She mirrored his gaze with wide, curious eyes, sensing the safety and power radiating from him. He knelt slowly, voice low but steady. "I've been searching for you." Without even knowing it, he murmured, letting the truth settle between them like a promise. The heroine's heart thumped wildly. Fear, relief, and something far more tender twisted together. I thought keeping her safe meant keeping you away." She whispered, "I didn't want your anger, or your pack, to harm her." He shook his head, brushing a stray lock of hair from his daughter's face. "No, hiding from me. It nearly kept us apart, but I will protect you both, always." His gaze found hers, a mixture of longing, apology, and undeniable desire shimmering beneath the surface. The daughter reached out, tiny hands touching his cheek. He froze at the sensation, stunned by the simplicity and truth of her trust. It was a small gesture, yet it carried the weight of all the years spent apart, all the secrets, all the unspoken love. I don't want to hide anymore," the heroine admitted, voice trembling. "I want us to be a family if you'll let me." A low growl rumbled in his chest, his wolf, sensing the bond, the destiny, the claim that could not be denied. He reached for her, hands gentle but firm, drawing her close. Every barrier, every fear, seemed to melt beneath the weight of the moment. "You have me," he murmured, lips brushing her hair, and her, "You both have me." For the first time, she allowed herself to breathe, to feel, to believe. The past, painful, difficult, full of secrets, was behind them. Ahead lay possibility, trust, and a bond forged stronger than fear. The daughter's laughter, bright and innocent, rang through the clearing. The Alpha scooped her up effortlessly, spinning her in a protective, joyful circle. She giggled, looking at him with unrestrained affection, and the heroine felt the warmth of hope settle in her chest. The forest held its breath, then seemed to exhale, releasing tension into the silver night. Fate had spoken, hearts had aligned, and the long shadows of the past began to fade beneath the glow of the moon. Together they stood family, bound by blood, love, and destiny, ready to face whatever the world, the pack, or rival threats might throw at them next. The full moon rose, casting a silver glow across the pack grounds, illuminating every wool, shifted figure gathered to witness a moment of rare harmony. The alpha stood tall, daughter cradled in his arms, eyes soft yet filled with the strength and authority that had always defined him. Around them, the pack sensed the shift, the declaration of new bonds, of trust, and of family claimed at last. She stepped forward, hand brushing against his as they both looked down at their daughter. The little girl's eyes sparkled with joy, her laughter ringing like bells through the moonlit night. "Daddy," she cried, arms reaching for him, and he swept her up again, holding her close. His wolf growled low in approval, protective and content, a sound that reverberated through the trees and hearts alike. The heroine exhaled, feeling the tension and fear of years melt away. She met the alpha's gaze, a smile curving her lips. There was no more hiding, no more running, no more fear. They were together, whole, united, unstoppable. "You both have me," the alpha murmured, voice firm yet tender, echoing the promise he had made in the forest clearing days ago. "Now and forever." The daughter giggled, pressing her tiny face into his chest. She had found her place, her family, and a sense of belonging she had never known before. The pack members around them shifted quietly, acknowledging the bond, their respect and loyalty unwavering. Rivalries and tensions had softened under the undeniable power of family and fate. The alpha's embrace extended naturally to the heroine, hands brushing hers as they stood side by side, a silent promise of love, trust, and shared protection. The night was alive with possibility, with the quiet joy of a bond no secret could sever. The moon hung full, radiant, as if blessing the newfound family, and in that light she finally felt safe, cherished, and whole. No more secrets, no more fear, just love, loyalty, and the undeniable truth that they were finally, found and forever,